time around we are looking at the spreadsheet software. Alright, so spreadsheet software is an application that is used to organize, analyze, and store data in a tabular format. By tabular format, we are looking at something that has rows and columns and all of that. The tabular format makes it easy to organize your data and also to analyze them. So in this session, we are going to learn how to use this spreadsheet software. So there are several examples of spreadsheet software, but of course the most popular one we know is the Microsoft Excel. But there is also Google Sheets. We have the Apple numbers, we have the Libre Calc, and then also we have the Zoho Sheet. There are a few others, but we are interested in Microsoft Excel, and that's what we'll be using for our tutorials. Alright, so what are even the uses of a spreadsheet software? So what we can say is that spreadsheets has something for everybody. It's used for several things. Alright, so in financial management, you can use that to track some budgets. Okay, you can take a look at expenses and some forecasting. In terms of data analysis, we can use that to perform some statistical calculations. Okay, in business and accounting, we can use that to manage invoices, payroll. And also in academia, we can take a look at, gathering research data. Okay, and also we can use that for some data visualization, plotting, charts, graphs, and dashboard. And even in healthcare, we can look at recording patient records and appointments. So we can use it for a whole lot. But for the purpose of this particular session, we'll be more interested in the data analysis and then the data visualization. Alright, how do we organize data? How do we perform some mathematical operations on the data set? Let's get started. So how do we open Excel? Alright, so you go through a normal process. You can use a search and then you type Excel. Alright, you can use a search and just type Excel and then just click on it. And so like the other previous versions, I'm using the 2016 edition, just like the Microsoft Word. Okay, like I said, any version that is 2013 and above, you can easily follow. So when you open Excel, it brings you to this start screen, and over here you get access to open recently open files. You can get access to them. If you want to open other worksheets, so you get a chance to open it. And then on this side you get access to templates. There are pre-existing templates you can use. Okay, but as usual, our focus is on blank worksheet. We are going to start off with a blank worksheet. So once you are comfortable with a blank one, you can easily switch on to already existing template to use. So we are focusing on the blank workbook. So we click on that, and then here we are. So there's an interface for Microsoft Excel. Alright, and I believe it should be familiar to you. So if you take a look at it critically, you realize that they all have ribbons. You remember ribbons from the previous session? So they have ribbons, and on the ribbons we have tabs. It's the same standard throughout, okay, so that doesn't look so cumbersome. It looks familiar. And when we click on File, we get access to the Backstage view. Okay, it's a very similar interface we have. Alright, however, what is changing is that in Excel we have what we call a workbook. Okay, in Excel we have a workbook, where in Word we had a document. So Excel is made up of cells. These boxes that you see, we call them cells, and that's what Excel is made up of, full of the cells. Okay, again, This cells is actually made up of rows and columns. Like we have column A, column C, column E, all the way through. And then we have the rows, like row 1, row 2, row whatever, okay? So the intersection of these rows and columns form what we call the cell. Okay, so in Excel we have a lot of these cells, which is the intersection of the rows and columns. And the one new thing about Excel is that it has this particular interface here. First of all, we have this small box here we call the name box. Name box. So this name box will always display the active cell. Whichever cell is active, the name of the cell will be displayed in the name box. So for instance, if I'm here, the very first cell, we call it A1, is the active cell. It's shown in this name box. If I move to any other cell, there's an active cell, so the name will appear in the name box. So what you realize straight away is that every cell has its own unique name. Every cell has its own unique name. Alright? I'm sure by now you can have a fair idea how we get the names of the cell. Okay, so it's the name of the column in addition to the row. So for instance, I'm in column J and then in the row 7. So the name of the cell will be the cell J7. Okay, so this is how the cells are named. Is the name of the column you are D, and then the row 5. So the name of the column is D5. So every cell has its unique name, and that's one thing you need to understand in Excel. Okay. Alright, so we said that in Excel we deal with workbook. So the book is actually made up of sheets. You can have several sheets that come with one workbook. So if you have to come down here, it says sheet 1. I can go ahead and add another sheet. If I click on this button here, new sheet, I have a new sheet added. This will be sheet 2. I can add another one, sheet 3. Okay, so in Excel we are doing the workbook, but you can have several sheets making up the book. Alright, so let me go back to sheet 1. So essentially that is the interface for Excel. So it's okay to ask then how many rows and columns make up Excel. Okay, can we really get to the bottom? Because it seems to be a very long list. I can keep going and going. Alright, so how do I get to the bottom of this row? So to get to the bottom, we use a shortcut key. We'll use a control and then the down arrow key. So press hold control and then the down arrow key, and this will send us to the very last row, 1,048,576 row. That is a lot of rows here, 1 million. Alright, I don't know which application can have that number of records, but that is huge. So to go back to the top, okay, we can press control and then the top arrow key. Okay, control down arrow key sends us to the bottom, control and then the top arrow key takes us to the top. Alright, how about the number of columns? How many columns do we have? How many columns can we have? Alright, so to do this as well, we'll press on control and the right arrow key, control and the right arrow key. This will send us to the very last column. So that should be column XFD, and that is a whole lot as well. So like if we want to return to the very first cell, control and the left arrow key, this takes us back to the very first cell. Okay, so you have a lot of cells to deal with, a lot of rows and a lot of columns as well. Now to the basis how do we select a cell or a number of cells? Alright, so to select a cell, you just click in a cell, you click and then drag across it. So I have selected a number of cells. We'll call this one a range. Okay, I've selected a range. So that range, usually when you select a cell, the first cell appears as if it hasn't been selected, but actually has been selected. That's the way it works. Okay, so you select multiple cells and we call that one a range, and the range has a name. So for this particular one, we'll call it, this selection will be B2 through F2. That will be the range, B2 through F2. Alright, we can do other selection as well, and this is a whole range. The range is A1 through F9, A1 through F9, and that is what we refer to as the range. So most of the things we are going to do here will work with a range. We are going to do a lot of things with a range. Okay, so basically that is a quick overview of the interface of Excel.